Morning, everybody. Hey, thank you so much for making the time to come to today's session. My name is Jason Jacobs. I work for Intel. I have my colleague here, Kapil. He's based in Singapore. He looks after the Intel relationship overall. But I never thought I'd hear so soon the words from Alistair's mouth come out this morning to say cybersecurity, cloud, they are both the same discussion. I mean, I never thought I heard it so quickly, and what an amazing thing that is. Because at the end of the day, 24/7 government, all wonderful messages, is what we're about as well. So when we're talking about 24/7 government, essentially we're talking about data. Citizens want to get access to the data. They want to fill up a form, fill in the census, and basically want to interact and get their jobs done. We're also in the job of data. How can we make access to that data? How can we make transporting that data easier? My Madonna mic is not working properly down. It just fell out the back of my trousers. Okay, how can we make access to that data, and how can we make it relevant, and how can we also make it easier for you to manipulate? So the sheer force of the economy and the modern day means data and the magnitude of it is causing us to evaluate how we respond, how we react, and also how we work within the different agencies. I'll just delve into the autonomous vehicle discussion very quickly. So Intel was faced with having one of our key customers, BMW, and also one of AWS's large customers as well. We're working with them on their autonomous vehicles. So in 2018, next year, they're looking at a semi-autonomous vehicle coming out, and 2021, a fully autonomous vehicle coming out. And we like that, because in each autonomous vehicle, they're looking at upwards of 32 processors in a single vehicle. 32. So that's why it's generating 4 terabytes of data a day. Now, BMW, using that data, are saying, how should we pivot our business? What can we do to have that connection deeper with our customers and make ourselves more relevant? That based upon the insights that they've had, they are changing what they're doing as a company overall. So you now have the ability, and BMW will be coming out with this, to buy a subscription to BMW. So for the first 6 months of your subscription, you decide, listen, we need an SUV. That's what we're going to travel. 6 months later, the kids are gone. You're the empty nesters. Let's get that coupe we've always been desiring. So rather than buying a vehicle as such, BMW are transforming themselves into an experienced company. Now that's the type of discussion and engagement that Intel and AWS want to have with yourselves. My job as Intel is, I know you get it, Intel are here. You know, we power, we're the building blocks upon which AWS are able to deliver all these solutions. But really what we're after is to find the next big thing. And how can we help you and help us find the gaps? So if there's something that you find is not available, or you think, wouldn't it be great if? That's the type of discussion I'd love to see and be available for. I look after the federal government agencies in Canberra. I am Sydney-based, and I am also a long-suffering West Tiger supporter. So the mention of Canberra and getting thumped by Canberra 50 points plus in the last couple of years doesn't suit well with me, but I'm here anyway. Okay, so how does Intel make itself relevant and embrace this absolute wall of data that is coming to us day in, day out? So we've pivoted our company. So what we've come up with is Intel's virtual cycle of growth, and this is how we engage with our partners such as AWS, our partners in the ISV community. We want to make sure we do great data center products. So the silicon that we put into the servers, we want to make sure that we bake in as much as possible functionality and features so it's real-time encoding is done on the chipset and the CPU cycles are not wasted. We also want to make sure the fabric and the interconnect between these servers are as tight and as efficient as they can be. And this is the big data centers that is munging and crunching all of the data. Skip down to the bottom, and we're looking at these 50 billion of IoT devices. You know, all the glasses, the sensors on top of street lights, the wristbands. We've even heard of sensors being put in toothbrushes, okay? These things, and also Intel call a device as a tablet, a phone, a laptop, a two-in-one, and a desktop. These are all devices. These are all devices generating data. How can we make sure that this experience that is accompanying those devices is as optimal as possible? And as well, how can we get that data back up into the data center in the most effective manner? So that's also talking to the connectivity and the 5G discussions, as well as the LoRa, the narrowband IoT wave connectivity that we're working on. This is all part of our story. And the last bit is the middle bit. Now, FPGAs, the gate arrays, not many people here would be finding them relevant, but they're essentially, we can give you our silicon, you can put your own code on that silicon and run it yourself. Memory, we're doing some extremely interesting things in memory coming in the next year. 3D memory is becoming a reality, and that enables us to compact more and more information in the same form factor. So, around about March, April of next year, we're all pretty comfortable with a 30-centimetre ruler. All right, 30-centimetre ruler. SSDs are going to be coming in that form factor. Now imagine a one rack unit of these 30-centimetre rulers. What's going to be available around that March, April timeframe is 1/4 of a petabyte in that one rack unit. And if the projections go well, and if we get the right amount of yields going forward, we are looking at 1 petabyte in one RU by the end of 2018. So 1 petabyte. So look what that transpires into yourselves in regards to data center costs, rack space, just the entire data center planning. Now, Amazon today mentioned that they had 61 price decreases since their inception. We are working with them with these memory storage arrays, and I can guarantee that will be the 62nd once they start deploying these rack ruler SSDs. All right. So what about the Amazon and Intel virtuous cycle? How are we working together? It's pretty self-evident. There's a 10-year history of us working together. Amazon buy a lot of custom Intel silicon to run in their data centers. They also purchase a large amount of our storage as well. So the data center is pretty evident. The ECT and the basic Amazon storage blocks are all built on our technologies. And also down at the things and devices, we are both consumer-orientated companies. We want to bring alive these experiences with this array of devices. We're doing a lot of work with the Alexa voice services. So who at home's got an Alexa? Who's kicking around with it? Most of us? Okay, interesting. So the Alexa Echo Look is coming out. Anyone heard about the Echo Look? Alexa with a camera. All right, Alexa with a camera. Don't get worried. Don't get worried. So that'll basically help bozos like me, before I'm walking out, just do a little pose in front of the camera and say, do you really want to go out with that shirt and that pair of pants today? So Echo. Okay, let's get practical. How can we help you today? This is a map that we use to try and find out what are the typical workloads that you're exposing and putting into your data centers. Now, Intel creates silicon via our server range to map to the individual areas. Now, I would love it. I would love it if you buy the Intel Xeon E7s or the Platinum range for all of these workloads. It'll put me into an early retirement. However, it's not the best for yourselves. Down here in the dedicated hosting area, you only need a very simple, single-core, low-frequency CPUs that just go ahead and just do a very basic job. But let's not confuse that in the high end with the HPC area. Here we're looking at high core count, high frequency. Now, what does that mean for Amazon and Intel? We work very, very closely with Amazon to make sure that the Amazon instances that are created are mapped to the correct CPUs. So if there's one thing that I can suggest for you today is to have a look at what workloads you are doing and make sure they are fit for purpose. Because the last thing that you'd be wanting to be doing is putting the bicycle out here and buying multiple of these bicycle workloads but putting them up in the upper quadrant doing high-performance computing. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. There's a lot of economies of scale to be looked at to be saying, listen, I'd really be putting one of these instances in place instead of one of these. Because yes, sure, the cost effectiveness initially for the purchase may be higher, but these are able to be finishing my workloads and my activities in a shorter amount of time. Now, we are also announcing the Intel Xeon Platinum powering the C5 instances. These things are blowing performances out of the water. So we're getting 72 virtual CPUs, up to 144 gigabytes of memory. And they're also taking advantage of a lot of the functionality within the chipset itself. So encryption and decryption of data is done on the fly. If you're doing advanced machine learning and inferencing, especially when you're doing floating point calculations, automatically these have the ability to almost double the performance on the silicon alone. So if there's one thing I can suggest, work with us. We're most happy to have the discussion, work with the Amazon representative, and have a look at what instances are using for what particular work case. So let's drill down in a couple of the higher value instances that are powering by C5, and what can we do to assist in how we're approaching that market. The example I'm using here is based on SAP. Now, Intel and Amazon have a 10-year relationship whereby Intel and SAP, we've gone back 20 years and how we've been interacting and developing and optimizing over the reference architecture. So the vast majority of SAP architecture is based upon an Intel reference story, the x86. Now, as SAP has developed and they're looking at large memory instances in their SAP HANA story, it's been primarily an on-premise discussion, really. No one has really thought of it seriously in the past. They've been saying, do I really want to put it in the cloud? Is it really worth it? Can they handle large memory instances? The story now is that Amazon are giving you options. And they are real options and they're tangible options. And they don't just throw them up there. They are accompanying it with Intel to help with the quick starts to guide you on that journey. So when I last had a look on the website a couple of days ago, there's a quick start reference guide. And sure, you can walk along and it can handhold you and it can tell you the instances to use and what you need to do. And I'm just breaking things, Andy. I'm just kicked the monitor over. And when I last looked as well, there's an ability to apply for $2,000 worth of credits to help you on that journey if you're looking at putting SAP HANA into your organization or any SAP. They've also got the developers under control, so there's various cloud libraries that you can download to assist your developers so they get comfortable looking at the HANA story within. One of the success stories that we've got that we can publicly talk about is Kelloggs. Now, we've got a multiple proof of concepts in play in Australia that I'm bursting to tell you about, but we know we've just got to keep our powder dry. But Kellogg's at the moment have transported their promotions program into a SAP HANA instance into the cloud. And it's a very interesting stat that they've come up with. They're looking at almost getting $1 million back in payback in 5 years based on the capital costs that they were outlaying for an on-premise decision. It's been so successful in the North America region, based on 16 terabytes of data, that they're looking at putting the entire geography, so 50 terabytes, into this SAP HANA system very shortly. So it's real. The instances and the offerings that the AWS put forward, if you want to go down the SAP path, I'm not sure if SAP here, they should be thanking me, is the whole story from the monitoring, the network story. And on the blogs, the AWS blog, there is a definite roadmap for the SAP HANA. So for 2018, they are looking at 8 terabytes of addressable memory all the way up to 16 terabytes. So it's not a fickle story. It is a real, tangible option. So AI is the latest buzzword. When I first entered the IT industry, everybody was getting on the, you must get into SAP, and then everyone sort of get big data was a big story. It's AI now. So what are we doing with AI? So Intel, one of the interesting things that we don't bang our drum enough. So we have the whole suite of AI solutions for your teams and developers, both from the chipset all the way up to the training frameworks that you could take advantage of. And the vast majority of this is all open source and available right now. Our SDKs and our kernel libraries are all developed internally with industry and made available, so it accelerates your opportunities in the AI landscape. And how we're helping AWS. Let's take a particular example. Here's these AWS's AI offerings, all the way in Polly and Lex got a mention today. One in particular is the math kernel library that they use based on the Apache PathWorks. Now, what AWS, there is a video on this, and what AWS are using this for is their inference engine and their recommendation engine. So when you're going and purchasing on the Amazon website and you see all the wonderful things enticing you to buy, just add to cart, this is what they're using to help with. Now, this particular library is downloadable, and what that means is when you have your AMI, and we've also got the cloud access libraries and the quick starts for this, when you download it, your developers don't have to have deep AI knowledge. They can take advantage of these runtimes, and also the performance of these runtimes are great. So you can see it's the nearest comparable one with almost nearly 3 times the performance. That means it's a faster time to market and a faster way for you to get your answers. No AI story is complete without DL, and it's not just DL, it's big deal. Is big deal. So the big deal program is something Intel have put together with our engineers and made it available in a white paper as well as some code. These slides will be able to download, so you don't have to copy down these crazy URLs. But what we have made available with AWS is to package this together with an AMI. So when you follow these instructions, get the AMI, there's a bootloader to accelerate the discussion, and it's put on Apache Spark. So that means your existing developers that are comfortable in the Spark language and the Spark environment, they have a quicker time to adopt a lot of these deep learning capabilities.